So, the Mahabharata. You've probably heard of it, right? It's this absolutely massive, epic poem. I mean, it's got gods, heroes, deep philosophy, the whole shebang. But we're not going to try and tackle all of that today. No way. Instead, we're going to zero in on the heart of the story, the very core of it, this catastrophic family feud that literally spirals into a world-ending war. We're going to get right to the origin story of that epic rivalry.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? How does a family argument, a family feud, blow up into an all-out epic war? You see it throughout history, but man, the Mahabharata gives us one of the most dramatic answers you can possibly imagine. And the crazy thing is, it doesn't start on some grand battlefield. Nah, it all begins with personal choices, some really intense promises, and even a few cresses that basically put two sets of cousins on an unavoidable collision course.
All right, first up, a vow that shaped a kingdom. And really, that's where this whole thing kicks off. It starts with a king falling in love and a prince making a sacrifice. A single moment, a single decision that changes everything for the dynasty. It creates this huge power vacuum that, you'll see, generations are going to fight and die over.
So picture this. You've got King Shantanu, and he is just head over heels for this fisherman's daughter, Satyavati. But her dad, he's a smart cookie. He lays down this one totally non-negotiable condition. He says, you can marry my daughter, but only her sons can inherit the throne. Now this is a massive problem. Why? Because Shantanu already has an heir, and he's perfect. We're talking about the crown prince, Devavrat. Noble, powerful, the whole package.
And this is where it gets intense. I mean, the scale of this sacrifice is just mind-blowing. Devavrat sees his father, totally heartbroken, right? So he goes to the fisherman himself. First, he gives up his own claim to the throne, just like that. But the fisherman is still skeptical. Is like, yeah, okay, but what about your kids? Your sons could still come along and challenge my grandsons for the kingdom. And that's when Devavrat makes this second, absolutely staggering promise you see right here. He promises to be celibate for his entire life. Think about that.
The impact of this vow, it was immediate. It was profound. They say the heavens themselves basically shuddered at how serious it was. And from that day forward, Prince Devavrat was no longer Devavrat. He became known as Bhishma, which means the one who took a terrible oath. So yeah, he made his dad happy, but at what cost? He just took the best, most capable, and rightful heir completely out of the picture. And what does that do? It creates a dangerous power vacuum right at the center of the kingdom.
So now we have two families, one throne. Because here's the thing about Bhishma's huge sacrifice, it didn't actually solve the problem. It just kicked the can down the road and, honestly, made things way more complicated. The line of succession now has to go through Shantanu and Satyavati's kids, and this is exactly where the seeds of our two rival families get planted. So, with Bhishma out of the running, the plan was for the royal line to continue through his half-brothers, right? The sons of Satyavati. But then, tragedy strikes. Both of her sons die before they can have any kids of their own. The whole dynasty is on the verge of just ending. So, in a moment of desperation, a sage named Vyasa is brought in to, well, continue the family line. He fathers two sons with the widowed queens, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. And it's their children, the next generation, who become the famous rivals, the Kauravas and the Pandavas.
Okay, this little chart here breaks it down really nicely for us. So on one side, you've got the Kauravas. These are the 100 sons of the older brother, Dhritarashtra, who was born blind. Their main guy, the ringleader, is the super ambitious and crazy jealous Duryodhana. And on the other side, we have the Pandavas. They are the 5 sons of the younger brother, Pandu. Their eldest is Yudhishthir, who's known for being very righteous. So you've got two branches of the very same family, and both of them think they have a claim to the same throne. You can already see where this is going, right?
Now, this is a really crucial detail. Even though Dhritarashtra was the older brother, he was born blind, and back then, that disqualified him from being king. So his younger brother Pandu gets the crown. Logically, that means Pandu's son Yudhishthir is the rightful heir, the crown prince. But Pandu dies young, thanks to a curse. That's a whole other story. So Dhritarashtra steps in as a sort of placeholder, a caretaker king. The problem is, his own son Duryodhana is growing up in the palace watching all this, and he's thinking, hey, wait a minute, my dad's on the throne, I should be the next king. And this is where things get really ugly. A rivalry turns deadly. What started out as, a political problem about who gets to be king, it now gets deeply, deeply personal. Because these boys, the cousins, all grew up together in the same palace. And the Pandavas' natural talent and their good nature, well, that just poured gasoline on the fire of their cousins' resentment.
I mean, seriously, in every single contest, the Pandavas just excelled.
Yudhishthira was the wise one, Arjuna was an archer without equal, and Bhima, oh man, Bhima had just incredible strength. And this constant winning, this constant excellence was just a daily humiliation for Duryodhana. He stopped seeing them as his family, as his cousins. They just became obstacles standing in the way of his ambition. And that jealousy, it festered and curdled into this really dangerous, murderous hatred. And he focused a lot of that hate on the one guy who could physically overpower him all the time, Bhima.
And look at how fast things escalate. You can see it right here on this timeline. It starts with normal kid stuff, childhood squabbles, wrestling matches where Bhima easily beats all the Kaurava brothers. But Duryodhana doesn't just get mad and move on. No, he gets lethal. His first big play is to poison Bhima's food, tie him up when he passes out, and then just throw him into the Ganga River to drown. And believe me, when that doesn't work, his plots just get bigger and more diabolical.
But here's where the story takes a wild turn. Duryodhana's plan backfires in the most amazing way you can imagine. So Bhima sinks down to the bottom of the river, and he gets bitten by these serpent beings called Nagas. But get this, their venom, instead of finishing him off, actually counteracts the poison in his system. And it doesn't stop there. The Naga King recognizes him and gives him this divine drink that makes him even stronger. So Bhima just waltzes back to the palace, more powerful than he was before, which, as you can guess, leaves Duryodhana absolutely furious and even more full of hate. Which brings us to what we're calling the unstable piece. Because Duryodhana's next attempt to get rid of his cousins for good would be his most ambitious one yet. We're talking about a plot so sinister, so all-encompassing, that when it failed, it literally forced the kingdom to be split in two.
The plan itself was just diabolically clever. First, step one, he gets his dad, the king, to send the Pandavas and their mother Kunti off to a festival in a far-off town. Easy enough. Then, step two, he has this gorgeous palace built just for them, but the secret is it's made out of super flammable stuff like lac wax. And finally, the endgame, step three, on the very last night, an accomplice is supposed to set the whole place on fire, burning them all alive and making it look like a tragic accident.
So that was the plan. But let's look at the reality. On the one hand, Duryodhana's plan was simple. The Pandavas get eliminated, and his claim to the throne is totally secure. But the reality? Well, their uncle Vidur, who happened to be the prime minister, was a sharp guy. He smelled a rat and warned them. He even had a miner dig a secret escape tunnel for them before they even got there. So while Duryodhana and everyone else thought the Pandavas were dead, they were actually escaping, going into hiding. And then, to top it all off, they made a powerful new alliance with another king.
So when the Pandavas suddenly show up again, not only alive and well, but now backed by the army of another powerful king, well, Duryodhana couldn't just brush it under the rug. The political pressure was just massive. The blind King Dhritarashtra was totally stuck. He's caught between his duty to be fair and his blind love for his evil son. So what does he do? He makes a compromise. He officially splits the kingdom right down the middle, giving one half to his son and the other to his nephew. And that created this incredibly fragile, deeply unstable piece.
And that really is the question that hangs over everything, isn't it? With two kings in one kingdom, how long can a peace like that possibly last? I mean, they created this completely impossible situation. The kingdom is officially broken, the battle lines are drawn, and all that resentment that had been simmering under the surface for years, now it has a border. It's official. All the attempted murders, the secret plots, that deep-seated jealousy, none of it went away. It was just given its own chunk of land to fester in, basically setting the stage for the inevitable, catastrophic war to come.